Your Rally Factor is on tonight.
On behalf of the Correspondents Association, I just want to lodge a formal complaint about the Apollo 11 event today.
The Obama administration bans the press from an event honoring astronauts who walked on the moon. But why? Bernie Goldberg has been investigating.
We should prevent them from exporting terror, but I'm not so sure where the clear-cut American interest is.
Senator Rand Paul talking about the ISIS terror army currently on the march in the Middle East. Will Mr. Paul's isolationist view hurt his quest for the presidency? Laura Ingraham on that. Also ahead tonight, should President Obama be impeached? A new poll asks the folks.
Caution. You are about to enter the no-spin zone. Factor begins right now. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. President Obama and the folks. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. As I mentioned last week, some are calling for the president to be impeached. So I asked the Fox News polling people, it's a scientific poll, to form a question about impeachment. Results came in last night. 36% favor impeaching Barack Obama. 61% do not. Now, the reason a majority of Americans reject an impeachment spectacle is because they know it hurts the country, and there's no compelling evidence to support that drastic legal action. He would never be convicted. When President Clinton got into trouble with Monica Lewinsky, a CBS News poll had 45% of Americans favoring impeachment, 53% against. That was October '98. The president was impeached and acquitted. Impeachment is a last resort mechanism, and although President Obama is having trouble, most Americans believe impeachment would be an overreaction that would damage the country. But there is no question that the president is under pressure. On every major issue, the folks disapprove of his performance. Healthcare, 54% disapprove, 41% approve. Economy, 57% disapprove, 40% say okay. Foreign policy, 56% disapprove, 36% approve. Immigration, 58% disapprove, 34% approve. Finally, on how the president is handling the current border crisis involving children, approve just 31%, disapprove 56%. So you can see Barack Obama has lost the folks, at least Americans who evaluate things in a fair way. There'll always be zealots on both sides who vote their ideology or skin color or whatever. Talking Points believes President Obama's current problems are being exacerbated, word of the day, exacerbated, by his demeanor. As we've been reporting, he seems disengaged, apathetic, even arrogant at times. When he speaks about the border or the Middle East or Putin, he meanders, doesn't seem authoritative. So the perception, even in some Democratic precincts, is that Mr. Obama has lost his ability to deal with problems effectively. An interesting question on the Fox News poll was this: does Barack Obama even want to be president anymore? 52% say yes, but 41% of Americans think he has had enough. And that may be true. From the president's point of view, he believes he's being treated unfairly by the Republican House, and that the media, which once adored him, is not giving him enough support these days. The president's not the kind of guy who rallies the troops. He's not Newt Rockne or George Patton. Rather, he's an academic, a consensus seeker. Well, there is consensus now. The majority of Americans believe President Obama is failing in his job. And that's the memo. Now for the top story tonight, reaction. With us here in New York City, one of the co-hosts of The Five, Andrea Tantaros, and from Washington, Democrat James Carville. So, Carville, what do you attribute the president's low poll numbers across the board to? Why do you think that's happening?
First of all, that they're stable, and they've been around these numbers for quite a while. There's a lot of things that are going on in the world. People's incomes have not gone up like they like it. And so he's at, according to the aggregate, he's about 43.6, which is not very good, but it's not collapsing.
Yeah, but on every issue, on every single issue, he's getting failing grades. I mean,
well,
what I'm trying to get at here is not technical garbage.
I understand.
It's the perception is he's failing to solve the problems. Now, is that perception fair in your opinion?
Well, I think the economy is going to be the best year for private job creation of this century. We had the lowest unemployment claims.
Yeah,
but it takes a while for these things to get in the bloodstream.
They're not, the median income is still falling.
his approval is about 43.5. His disapproval is 52. More people disapprove of him. That's not unusual at this point.
You dodged the question. Do you think
it's not collapsing? It's not
in every area that Americans are saying he's not cutting it? Do you think it's fair?
Again, right. You know what? Whether it's fair or not, that's public opinion. And I further think that, honestly, I don't really think he much cares what we think.
I agree
and
with
I
you
don't
on
think
that.
he much cares about his poll numbers. I really don't.
He doesn't seem to.
Valid.
He doesn't seem to. He's fundraising now.
No.
Fundraising again this week.
He doesn't. I think he thinks he's done and is doing a good job, and history will record him. And he's
that's
going
the
about
way
his
George
business.
Bush
He's not
saw
really,
it too. All right, Andrea.
He doesn't really care.
I agree with Carville. He doesn't care. Do you think he cares?
I don't, and I think that's the reason why the poll numbers are so low, because people don't believe that he cares. He's not even pretending like he cares, Bill. At least Bill Clinton tried to feel people's pain. President Obama doesn't care. He makes no efforts. And the more Republicans ramp up the criticism, the more passive-aggressive he gets. You want me to go to the border? I'm deliberately not going to go. Right. He doesn't care.
Do you think he's a passive-aggressive?
I think he's very passive-aggressive in the way he handles things. The more that people ask him to do things, the less he wants to do them. And he recoils. And I think, yes, this is all about keeping the Senate for him. That's why he's fundraising. Yeah. He could care less about anything else. He would do better, though, believe it or not, losing the Senate, in my opinion, and having that Republican Congress to run against like Clinton did, because then he really could do what he likes. And that's demonize the right and fundraise for his library, and then he really doesn't have to talk about the scandal.
All right, but in the meantime, we're really in dangerous territory here in a number of different areas, particularly in Iran. I mean, that is an off-the-chart dangerous situation. The ISIS army, they're making great gains. The president hasn't hit them once. It seems to me that, okay, we're discussing politics now. Let's discuss real life. Right. He's not solving the problems, Carville. He's just not.
I don't want to be clear about something. I think he cares about his job. I just think he doesn't care what we think.
No,
I think that in his view,
I'm not disagreeing with you on that.
But I know, okay.
I think one of the happiest days of Barack Obama's life will be when he leaves. I don't think he wants to hold on to his job.
Honestly, the modern politician in some ways that he reminds me the most of, and this is kind of odd, is Dick Cheney. I don't think Dick Cheney really cared what people thought about him. And to some extent, I think that the president is increasingly like that. He doesn't much like politics, and he's pretty much decided that he's going to do what he wants to do.
But when you're in that zone, then, and you're walking away from solving these problems that are massive and getting worse.
I don't think, in his mind, I don't think he's walking away at all. And I think that he's working hard on these problems. Again, the Middle East problem has been trouble in Gaza since 5,000 years or something like that.
Well, you're going to hear in a moment coming after you that the president was warned about this ISIS army, did absolutely nothing, and now it's a crucial situation. All right, let me get to Andrea for the last word here. Now, the reason I think that the poll numbers for him aren't even lower, because they kind of bottom out about 40%, all right? He still holds that 40% approval. Because you have a coalition of people, African Americans, for example, they're still with him, all right? Liberal Americans, they're still with him. And Democrats, some of them he's lost, but that the party is worried. So that coalition keeps him at 40. But all the independents are gone. And, the folks who don't pay attention that much, they're gone too.
Yeah, in the last poll we looked at, every demographic that he won, independents, Hispanics, women, he's lost significant ground with, and that's really troubling. But I would disagree with James. James said that the president, he doesn't really care about politics. I think the only thing he cares about, Bill, is politics. He doesn't care about policy and problems. He doesn't know what to do. His whole staff is political. He put Jen Psaki at the State Department, so he's got a bunch of nincompoops advising him that only think with a political brain. And I do think he likes his job. I think he likes the perks. Remember when he was asked what's the best part? Air Force One.
Yeah, all right.
He likes being president, but he doesn't like the hard stuff about being president.
Don't you think when he leaves the White House that he's going to be relieved, and then he's looking at making $30-40 million a year in speaking and writing? And I think he's going to skip out of there, Andrea. He's going to go down the yellow brick road. Here I go. I'm out of here.
He'll do a couple cartwheels, and
that's what I think is going to happen.
I think he's going to milk every perk until the very end.
I think things are going to get worse. I hate to say it.
I agree with you.
You know, and this Iran thing is really troubling.
All
right, Carl. Thank you, Andrea, as always. Next on the rundown, the Obama administration is hesitant to attack the ISIS jihadist army, as mentioned, and that's causing destruction throughout the Middle East. Why is the president hesitant? Later, Republican Senator Rand Paul doesn't want to go after ISIS either. Laura Ingraham will analyze that moments away.